Today, we're going to be updating the interior on the 340i. We've got this genuine BMW carbon fiber and Alcantara trim. Now, you guys know I'm a sucker for interior modifications because that's what you see and you feel every time you drive. I love this stuff. Now, it should be pretty easy to install. Famous last words, but we'll see how this goes. Being genuine BMW parts, obviously the fit and finish are going to be perfect because, well, it's made by the same people that made the car, but it also means that this stuff is pricey. Now, Keys Motorsports sent this kit to me to do this installation / review video, and when I was doing my video prep and getting the links ready, I damn near fell out of my chair when I saw how much this stuff costs. So when it comes to upgrading your interior trim, there's basically two different variants that people will go with. Now, the more affordable option is sort of an overlay or a veneer, if you will. It basically sits on top of your existing trim with some 3M double-sided tape. Now, what we have here, this genuine BMW trim, this completely replaces the trim that's in your car. If you look at the back, it's actually got the clips and the fasteners built in. So this will replace what's already in there, and it's real carbon fiber, which is really cool. So just one quick thing to note if you're thinking about ordering this, the kit for the F30 and the F32 are a little bit different. I'm not sure if the actual parts are different shapes, but for sure the F32 is only going to have 2 door handles where the F30 is going to have 4. So let's start off with the door handles. Now, I did the other 3 off camera so I could kind of figure out how they work, and I'll say that this is probably the hardest part of the installation. For some reason, BMW really wanted to make sure that these weren't going to fall off, so there's tons of fasteners on the backside there. You can kind of look at your new one and get an idea of where they were, but basically what I did is I put my pry tool right in the middle and I pried it out that way, and that seemed to work really well for the other doors. So the trick to installing the new one, when you look at the back side, it just looks insane. There's little fasteners and clips everywhere, but really these 2 on the ends are really the only ones that you need to pay attention to. And what I did is I slid the bottom in first, and then to get the top, you kind of have to bend it just a little bit to get that to slide in. Now, don't bend it too much or you'll break it, obviously, but then once you've got that, you can kind of just hammer it in the rest of the way with the palm of your hand. So an interesting thing to note about the aluminum trim on the F30s is that it is real metal, but that brush finish is just painted on for some reason. I don't know why they did that, but on all the high abrasion areas like your door handles and like the sides of the center console, it's really common for that paint to get chewed up. So even though the aluminum is probably my favorite factory option, if your trim looks like this and it's all messed up, that alone might be a reason to upgrade to the carbon fiber. Pull straight up on the center console trim to remove it. On the back, remove the 3 T20 Torx screws so you can swap your iDrive controller onto your new trim. You can leave the wire plugged in. For the dash trim, pull straight towards you. Be careful because there's 2 wires plugged into the back. Disconnect the wires to free the trim from the car. So with the factory dash trim out of the car, all we have to do is transfer these air vents onto the new trim. There's just some clips along the top and bottom. Alright, so we've got the last piece here, this last air vent, and then we'll be done. So you pretty much get the idea now. You're basically just pulling up on the stuff gently. Then there's just a couple of little clips on the back. Now, of course, we've got the P3 gauge installed, so there's some wires back there, but shouldn't have to unplug anything to be able to pop this out. I thought this was going to be the easy one. I absolutely love this interior trim. I love how the black carbon fiber contrasts with the coral red interior. I think that that's a really good combination. I almost feel like Darth Vader sitting in this thing, like it's a TIE fighter cockpit or something like that. I love the Alcantara on the dashboard. I think that the texture adds a little bit of depth to that. Personally, I could do without the M Performance branding there. Doug DeMiro has a rant in one of his videos where he talks about how BMW is sort of diluting their M Performance brand by just slapping M logos on everything nowadays. Maybe that's a discussion for another time, but just purely out of aesthetics, I think I would have preferred that to just be blank, or even if the text were black so it was a little bit more subtle, but that's just me. Maybe there's someone watching this and the M Performance thing is the reason that you want to buy this, but that's just my personal preference. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that $1,000 isn't a lot of money for interior trim. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I was driving a $1,000 car, so thinking about how much this costs, it's kind of crazy. But when you think about the fact that this trim is designed for cars that originally cost around $50,000, that price doesn't seem too far out of line, and it is very high quality. Again, the fit and finish of this stuff is exactly what you would expect for genuine BMW parts. I feel the same way about this interior trim as I did about the P3 gauge, and that is that yes, it is really expensive for what it is, but you're gonna pay for high quality parts. And I realize that this probably isn't going to be an impulse buy for most people at that price. It's probably going to be something that you put on a wish list and maybe save up towards or work towards at some point in the future. But this is really for the person who's trying to build the ultimate F30. They've already done all the other mods and they're just looking for that next thing to really step things up in the interior. People will go with the more affordable option. It's sort of an over. Let's jump right into the install. Let's jump right into the installation. All you're really gonna need for Alright, so let's jump right into the installation. Why can't I say that? So one interesting thing to note.